Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Williams. This is the progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. Remember, you can also send me a tweet to EGBERTOWILLIES. That is, at Egberto Williams. Let us engage. It is politics done right.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Williams, your host. Thank you so kindly for being a part of the show. We are going to have a great show for you today, as usual. Lupita, how are you doing today, my dear friend?
I'm good, but I'm cold.
You're cold. I know it's real cold in here, isn't it?
Because when the weather goes from like 75, 80 degrees to like this, it's wild.
It's wild. I know what you mean. So how was your week?
It was good.
It was good. You had a good one?
Yeah, it's good.
Well,
so
folks,
far.
Well, we're going to make sure that it stays good.
Yeah.
And remember last week I told you you're going to like the program?
Yes.
This week I need you to like it, but it's a little bit not very Gen Z-like, or you're not Gen Z. You're even younger than Gen Z. What the heck are you?
Well, I know there's like a discrepancy between because I was born in 96, so
Right.
there's like different, some people say like I'm a millennial, but then some people say that I'm not. It just depends who is giving the definition.
I see.
Because there's it's because 96 is like right like in the middle kind of.
Uh-huh.
The cutoff kind of varies between, people. I really don't know what
I'm going to call you Gen Z because my daughter is in the studio with me, and she's a millennial. And you know what's so funny? Both of you, the two young ladies in here are these top scholars. So anyhow, hey, how you doing, Ashley?
Hi, I'm happy to be here.
You have to speak in the mic, though.
I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, well, good. I'm going to use some of that knowledge that you've been getting out there in med school to make my issues. I'm not going to ask you to be political, but I am going to. There are certain things that you tell me that I was able to say, wow, you're making my point. But folks, we are going to have a great show for you today. But before we get started, I have a statement to read from Indivisible Houston. The president, Daniel Cohen, released this statement. And it's very important because the Democratic Party, well, not the Democratic Party. I tell you what, let me read his statement. And I want comments when we get into the comment areas. It goes as follows. The DSCC decision to weigh in on the Texas Senate race directly encroaches on our democracy. By picking MJ Hagar, who declined to attend the Indivisible Texas statewide candidate issues forum just last week, they have decided to put out their thumb on scale against other candidates. They have decided to inject money and top-down ivory tower influence into our home state. In the 2018 election cycle, the Democratic establishment weighed in on local congressional primary when the DCC decided to attack Laura Moser, a decision we abhorred and denounced for influencing the outcome of the race in the TX07. They have had 2 years to take us seriously. Yet, yesterday we learned not only of the DSCC's decision to interject themselves into our Texas Senate race, but also several other major strategic and moral missteps by its counterpart in the House. The Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee, we already knew that the DCCC, let me get out of there, that the DCCC has announced that they would blacklist any vendors that worked for candidates who challenged Democratic Party incumbents. But yesterday, The Intercept reported that the DCCC itself continued to work with Republican candidates who challenged Democratic candidates last election cycle, and the vendors assisting those Republicans would be allowed to continue operating. Well, folks, when I talk about the establishment being all in one the same, Daniel Cohen in this statement makes that clear. Worse, a newly elected member of Congress, New Jersey 02, who was carried over the finish line by the DCCC in a competitive 2018 primary, is now poised to switch parties to defend Donald Trump. It is appalling that the DCCC, who claims to prioritize fighting Donald Trump, put their name, their time, their effort, their resources, and energy into electing Jeff Van Drew. Van Drew, and I blogged about that yesterday. Check out egbertowillies.com on Van Drew. Van Drew is serving his own self-interest by covering the backside of the White House at one of the most pivotal moments in the history of American democracy. This was an enormous failure. We believe Texans are in charge of our own destiny, not Chuck Schumer, not Ben Lujan, and not, actually it's Ben Luhang, and not anyone else in national Democratic politics who seeks to silence the voters. To the Democratic Senatorial Campaign Committee, let the process play out. We, the people of Texas, can pick our own candidates in both primary elections and in general elections without assistance or influence from systematically biased Beltway politicians. Signed, Indivisible Houston, President Daniel J. Cohen. I called Daniel before I read this because I wanted to make sure to get this online. But anyhow, folks, we've been speaking a whole lot about how we are going to win 2020. 2020 will not be won by folks selecting people because the plutocracy prefers to have corporatists in office. It won't work. I spoke to a very active activist yesterday when she called me, and I told her, she said, Egberto, I'm scared about 2020. And I said to her, do not be scared. We will win 2020 big. Progressives will ensure that we win 2020 big. The only people that can stop us from winning 2020 is the Democratic establishment playing ball. That's the only way. The only way that progressives, that the people who deserve to win in 2020 will not win, is influence from the establishment of the Democratic Party. There is absolutely no other way for there to be a loss. I want every Democrat, every independent, every person in this state listening to me, in this country listening to me right now, to understand that the only way to lose is to allow the plutocracy to interject itself into the voice of the people, to replace the voice of the people, to do what El Señor, that candidate that just is playing a whole lot of TV ads right now. Who is it? The new Democratic candidate that's on TV buying the election. Blumberg. Thank you for that, beautiful daughter of mine. Blumberg. The only way is to get the plutocracy involved, to get what Bloomberg is doing. But anyhow, let's go ahead, folks. My brothers and my sister, my beautiful people out there, let's get started with the program. Anyhow, title of the program today is Private Insurance Extortion of Hospitals and Doctors Proves the Need for Medicare for All. This is an important topic because the reason I'm doing a topic today on this subject, folks, is I think if we can show where the plutocracy, where the corporatocracy have their boots on your neck, at the same time they're telling you, don't support policies that best help you. It's best to show you with examples. So anyhow, the subject of the day is private insurance extortion of hospitals and doctors proves the need for Medicare for all. Subtitle, the best example of the need for Medicare for all is found in the reality of the current pilfer. Real-time examples are probative. The fight for Medicare for all must be constant, consistent, and done experientially. The system that is fighting for its survival and against single-payer Medicare for all must be called out. More importantly, they must, as well as those who are lying, misinforming, cheating, and intellectually maiming to keep it, must be called out. They must be called out for the evil they represent. One cannot know the facts, understand them, and then plead innocence or benevolence. And the blog of the week that I'll be talking about later on, you'll see what I'm talking about. It hits right here in Houston, but it applies entirely across the country. But before I get to the program, I want to remind all our listeners that KPFD is a bastion of intelligent voices and programs. As a political activist myself, my favorites are Think Wing Radio with
Mike Honig on Mondays at 3 p.m.
And of course, there's Open Journal with
Dwayne Bradley and crew on Mondays at 6 p.m.
And then we have Jazz Latino, Afro-Cuban Latin Jazz at its very best, hosted by
Juan Flores and Lupita on Tuesdays at noon.
And Lupita, this time you just said Lupita. You actually closed out today, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
All right. And then, of course, right after this show, folks, the music you must be ready to listen to. Gener Asian Radio, a weekly radio program featuring an eclectic mix of Asian underground, Bagra, Bollywood, funk, Hindi, Rai, where ancient sounds meet future beats. That is when again?
Tuesdays from 4 to 6 p.m.
And that is right after this show, my dear brothers and sisters. Check out our full schedule at kpft.org, where you can find programming from music to politics to medicine to the eclectic. KPFT is a listener-supported public community radio station. So please, 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 please remember that if you like what you hear, visit kpft.org and ensure we remain a strong, viable community radio station that provides news, programming, and information not influenced by whom?
The corporatocracy.
We can't be influenced by the corporatocracy, folks, and that is what we're going to talk about today. Right, Ashley?
Right on.
Right on. Okay, folks, so please remember, this is your show. 713-526-5738. That number is 713-526-5738. Scott, I'm going to be coming to you after I get the blog of the week, and I want to ask Ashley a couple of questions, and then we'll get busy with you. But stick with me. We will be right there. So, folks, do you know what time it is?
It's time for the weekly blog post.
All right, my brothers and my sisters, let me tell you something. I think it is important for us to understand that if we are going to change this country, we have to understand why and what we're changing. Yesterday, something big occurred. And it was not covered as it should, neither here in Houston nor in the country. But you know what? The Chronicle, a paper that I'm not necessarily like super fond of, but I mean, they have very good reporters if they're just allowed to do their job. Very good reporters. But here it goes. Title of the blog of the week: Employer or private-based insurance? Here is proof you can only rely on Medicare for all. Employer or private-based insurance consistency is at best unreliable. Here's proof of why Medicare for all is the only practical solution to dependable and reliable health care. As I am going through my emails, I came across a breaking news email blast from the Houston Chronicle. I subscribe to many newspapers, and I think if we are able to, we should subscribe to as many as we can to ensure that their survival. We must have these newspapers survive. The title of the story is ominous enough. Cigna to end contract with Memorial Hermann. 178,000 customers affected. But should not be surprising. That should not be surprising at all. Our healthcare system makes us a useful commodity for wealth generation for the few. But packed in the short article are several discernible realities that are not all that obvious, but is all packed in the first 5 paragraphs. Here it is. Cigna, the nation's 4th largest health insurance company, on Monday said it would terminate its contract with Houston-based Memorial Hermann Hospital System in March, dropping as many as 178,000 plan members and 1,460 affiliate doctors from its network. The move, which comes after months of negotiations over hospital billing rates, would affect anyone with an employer-sponsored Cigna plan. However, those covered under the insurer's Medicare Advantage program for seniors will not be affected. The contract termination will take effect March 16. Our goal is to keep health care affordable, said Mark Stitt, a Cigna spokesperson, one of the what I call the extorters. To a large degree, that means having tough conversations with large hospital systems in our markets all over the country. Cigna's decision to sever ties with one of the largest hospital systems in the Houston area underscores just how contentious contract negotiations between insurers and providers have become amid mounting public scrutiny over the skyrocketing cost of American healthcare. In October, United Health shocked the Houston insurance market by announcing it was dropping the Houston Methodist Hospital system from its network of providers as of January 1st if an agreement could not be reached by year's end. The move could affect as many as 100,000 people. So now we're up to almost 300,000 people, folks, who hold employer-sponsored plan as well as the insurer's Medicare Advantage programs for seniors. Contract talks have since stalled, a hospital spokesperson said. That's what was reported by the Houston Chronicle. As I explained in the video that I have accompanying this thing here, and please go to egbertowillies.com where you can see the video that I did last night for this particular story. When the titans of business are negotiating, point number one, when the titans of business are negotiating healthcare contracts, it is no different than cable companies negotiating the prices they are willing to pay for or sell access to HBO, the Comedy Channel, and the like. The difference is while living without HBO or Comedy Channel is just an inconvenience to our entertainment desires, living at the behest of these healthcare thugs can be fatal as they fight for how best to redistribute your hard-earned dollars among themselves. Point number two, those in the article who will be left temporarily hanging are those with private employer health care. Stability, if you notice from the article, stability is with those where Cigna administers or were the people who Cigna administers a government program. So Medicare Advantage, reliability in the healthcare industry is with the people. We the people, where our healthcare is not brokered like a commodity. Point number three, Cigna's behavior is not a one-off. In fact, in order to satisfy shareholders' need to beat the inflation rate and for executives to get their undeserved bonuses, they must raise the prices you will pay for health insurance and other medical services. This is not due to inflation, but for greed and redistribution upward. The economic term, whatever the market will bear, is an evil term relative to your health care. Unfortunately, that is modus operandi of our health industrial complex, meaning pharmaceuticals, hospitals, health insurance, and everything in between. It is imperative that we counter the false narrative about our healthcare system. We must all step out of our comfort zone and engage in reality-based thinking instead of allowing the passive indoctrination well designed by a plutocracy that is extracting the disposable income of most Americans. Medicare for All is the most practical, mathematically provable solution to our healthcare crisis. There's no other better answer. People would say, well, other countries out there don't necessarily go Medicare for all the way, and that's true. They just are not the most efficient. They are all more efficient than we are because of regulations. They're all more efficient than us because they're universally covered, but they could be even more efficient if we just followed math. I'm coming to you, Scott and Tori, in a minute. I just want to ask Ashley a question here. Ashley, you and I on the way here to the studio. You are currently a medical student, third year. You're now doing clinicals.
Yes, I am.
Okay, and there's something that I thought was present. I'm not asking you to be political here. You told me, as you all are prescribing drugs, one of the things that you abhor is that you have to, when you are with a patient, you have to first, tell me about it. You have to first see what their insurance, tell me the story.
So the story goes along the lines of when choosing a type of treatment or the next steps or the plan, so to speak, for a patient, you have to decide whether to go a certain avenue based upon what insurance the patient has. And that means in the back of your head, you have to have an idea of what each insurance company actually covers. One example that I could exactly point to was vaccinations in children. There's one vaccination called Pentacell, which is a combination of vaccinations that can be given in, I believe, 4 installments. But not all insurance companies cover this one. So instead of sticking, the child once and covering 5 different types of bugs, you have to stick the child either like 2, 3 different multiple times. It's the same effect, but of course the child is getting stuck more. It's not, I wouldn't say it's a better or worse situation, but it is just something that an extra layer that we have to do when deciding what to give.
Well, you also told me an incident with drugs, psychotic drugs for veterans. And that one, I think, could actually have a material effect on the life of veterans, people who serve us. You're telling me that. Tell that.
Yeah, so there is a lot of veterans deal with quite a few psychiatric issues due to their time at war, especially if they're in active duty. And one medication that can be prescribed is a second-generation antipsychotic called Invega or paliperidone. And that one is long-acting, and it's like one injection, and you're kind of done for, I think, about 4 weeks. But it's very expensive. And so instead of using that one, you use another medication, sometimes risperidone. There's other ways you can do it depending upon what physician you're dealing with. But I remember just saying we had a kind of like a scenario, a case report that we had to essentially test ourselves with how we would treat a patient. And I mentioned Invega because at the VA I was working at, they happened to use that quite frequently. And when I said it at a different hospital, they said, oh, that's a very expensive medication. I don't know if I would use that as a first line. As in, it's always a choice, but it's not necessarily first line. And I was like, wow, you have to think about the different ways it can cost the patient and the different ways it can cost the insurance company and the different ways it could cost the hospital. There's 3 different layers you have to think about. And additionally, the different ways it'll affect the doctor who's prescribing the medication.
So in other words, we now have insurance companies who don't have degrees in doctoring telling you doctors how exactly you should treat your patient because of financial issues, because of whatever they decide or financial arrangements they've created with drug companies or others.
Yes, sometimes.
Okay. So, I mean, I think that is a dangerous proposition. But I tell you what, let me go ahead and talk to Scott, and then we'll get back into this. And folks, the telephone number is 713-526-5738, 713-526-5738. The idea here is I'm presenting to you that why we need to get these private drug companies, insurance companies, and these guys out of telling doctors what they can and cannot do or attempting to restrict them, because ultimately it hurts you. It hurts the individual, and it's only doing that because of the type of economic system we have. Okay, come on in, Scott. Scott? Okay, let me see. I think I can. Scott, this is not working? I can't get. See if you can push Scott. Okay, Scott, come on in.
Yes, I see that Mike Knox called his opponent a socialist, and he got away with it.
Say that again?
Mike Knox, elected citywide to the Houston City Council.
Yeah.
He was calling his opponent a socialist.
Right.
He got away with it.
Okay, I didn't know that. Had somebody told me about that, I would have made sure and made a hell of a lot of noise about that, but I didn't. Okay. I didn't hear about it.
Well, I met Raj Salhotra, the opponent, and I was impressed with him. But
I actually met Raj. I met Raj's mother at the polls.
To get well known.
Yes.
When you're running citywide. I don't think he got well enough known. And maybe the charge of socialism worked. I don't know. But I noticed that Donald Trump has already floated a trial balloon. He declared a month or 2 ago that the American people do not want socialism.
Well, I am not concerned about Donald Trump and the socialist trope that he's going to use now.
I think I am, because I think it could make a difference in the Midwestern Great Lakes states.
I think you're right. I think you're right.
I think we do, and
Scott,
I think there needs to be more rebuttal of it.
Scott.
In this city campaign. I'm afraid it would have to be somebody besides besides Raj Malhotra to rebut the charge. I think the charge is not best done by the candidate.
I agree with you, but let me tell you first of all, the reason I said I'm not concerned is as follows. I have already said, and I put my political whatever on the line when I said that I think the only way we can lose, when I say we, I'm talking progressives in the aggregate, can lose in 2020 is if the Democratic Party causes that. And here's what I mean. Trump can call the socialist trope as much as he wants. Let's look at the record. I wrote an article for Daily Kos that dropped on last Sunday that said, let's use the high stock market and the low employment as a weakness for Trump. Because if we have an economy where there is very low unemployment, where there is also a very high stock market, and people are hurting the way they are, that students are still in the doldrums with student loans, that people are having to work 2, 3, 4 jobs to survive. If we have this great economy and all these cylinders are firing, and in this great economy, this is how people are living. If it were the Republicans creating the narrative, it would have been over already. And what Democrats have to do is not buy into a false narrative. It is true the stock market is at a high. It is true that unemployment is at a low. And it's also true that most Americans, 80% of Americans, cannot have a $400 bill without getting into trouble. We have to learn how to stand up. The problem, like I stated, is we have to stand up in a manner that says we are not going to be scared of the tropes that come with the accusations of socialism. You don't need to be scared, Scott. The
Democrats secretly want to abolish the private sector. They want everybody to work for the government. They don't want you to own your own home.
That's not true. Do you believe that?
Public housing project.
Do you believe that?
No, I don't.
Thank you.
Okay,
Scott,
the Republicans
brother Scott,
say that, and
brother Scott,
I don't completely trust voters to debunk it.
Brother Scott, let me tell you something, my brother. You're calling into politics done right. You have a voice. Okay?
Yeah.
And all the people that listen, all progressives, all folks that are listening here have a voice. Our voice should never be, I am scared that this is what they're going to do to us. Our voice should be, this is what we are going to do. I am tired of Democrats, and not you, sir, but I'm tired of Democrats cloaking themselves out of fear on a particular position because of what they assume others are going to do about it. No.
I'm getting tired of hearing that Democrats are either corporatist or socialist. I want to hear about why I should vote against Donald Trump.
Thank you, sir. And I agree with you.
But I also want to say that I brought up the Mike Knox campaign because I didn't think anybody else would.
And
you know what? I think it is something that is an indicator about the word socialism, whether it's in effect still a dirty word. And I think it is in many corners of this country.
I don't disagree with you at all, sir. You're absolutely right. And let me but I want to tell you this, because this is on you now, Scott. This is what I'd like you to do. Are you there?
I am here.
This is what, the same way you come and you say these things here in Politics Done Right, for every time there is a person putting out those tropes, there is Scott making sure that trope doesn't stay unanswered, because an unanswered trope becomes a truity for others. So I got to go to the other call, Scott, but I thank you so kindly for calling in as you usually do, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Have a great day.
Bye.
All right, let's go. Line 2. Come on in. Oops. Could you give me back line 2? Let's see. Line 2. There we go. Tori, come on in.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hey, Egberto.
Talk to me.
A couple of points here. Progressives, well, Democrats in general, need to define themselves by what they're for,
yes,
as opposed to what they're against.
Agreed.
And we're getting full on, Donald Trump, and what we're against, and it's in everybody's face. And what's going to break people out is, defining what they're for.
I agree.
But what I called the comment about was from your early point about the Democratic Party, and I would have people go back to the Guardian newspaper from England. back in February 26, 2018, titled "The Democratic Party is Now Publicly Attacking Progressive Candidates."
Yes.
So this is when Laura Mosier was running, and the DCCC went full stop against her to push Lizzie Fletcher, which is a corporate candidate, and part of the
neoliberals, yes,
oligarchy. She's not an oligarch herself, but I mean, these are employees of the oligarchy class, and we always need a class-based analysis. The DCC is basically the direct hand of neoliberal World Bank oligarchs, which run both parties.
Now,
and so both parties are employees of, this international capitalist conspiracy. And Debbie Wasserman Schultz, she was doing it long before, whoever's doing it now, Tom Pettis.
Right. Now, Tori, let me tell you something, okay? And I agree with that. But, this is what I want progressives, Democrats, and all these other folks who want the right thing to do. The establishment is going to do what the establishment is going to do. For all practical purposes, all of us are a part of something, but to what I say, disregard the commandments from the ivory towers. And you and I and Johnny and Alejandro and Scott, we know what needs to be done, and that is we are people, and we are going to go to the people. And we are going to make sure that we inform them. I don't care that the DCC comes and go ahead and support Hager. That's their problem. I went to the Indivisible Forum last week where they had 7 of the candidates come over, that senatorial candidates in Texas they all started to talk about what they wanted to do going forward. We already see that Beto O'Rourke endorsed one of them. And I mean, so we don't have, let me tell you, the thing that I try to tell to Scott is as follows. Do not take a back seat. And you know that, Tori, we know each other. You go out there and you do your thing as well. You don't at all give in. Phone's ringing. You don't at all give in. You never give in. And what we have to learn to do is just like they fight, we go ahead and fight. No fear, zero fear. You go ahead and move forward. Come on in, Tori, before I go to the other call.
Nobody wins a game fighting on the, doing defense.
Exactly.
We have to be offensive. We have to take the lead. And just on last note, I want to invite everybody tomorrow night to come to the Extinction Rebellion meeting.
Oh, where's it going to be?
On the east side. It's off the Telephone Road, 7 o'clock.
Hey, great group. Hey, thank you so kindly for calling in, Tori. You have a great one, okay?
You bet. Have a good one.
Take care, brother. Bye-bye. All right, let's go to Johnny, line 3. Come on in, Johnny. Whoops, I messed up. Come on in, Johnny.
Line 3 here.
Yeah, you got it.
Listen, I was listening to your daughter, soon to be fully fledged physician,
yes,
sharing one of her experiences recently with an issue revolving around medication prescription for a patient. And listening to her describe the mental gymnastics that she and I guess other doctors have to go through day to day in dealing with insurance companies, we hear Republicans always criticizing the Medicare for All as the government telling doctors what to do, but they should have no problem in their private profiteering friends doing that. So my question for your daughter, I hope she's still there.
She's still here. She'll answer you.
Here.
Okay. So I forgot your first name.
Ashley.
Ashley?
Yes.
Okay. So, Ashley, in listening to your story, it occurs to me, and you would think I should know the answer to this question, but I don't, so I'm asking you. It seems to me that it would be more efficient from the point of view of these so-called insurance, health, quote-unquote, insurance companies to meddle with the curriculum in medical schools, so that when you guys go through your training, your pre-med and your medical classes and all, that you are trained to view certain solutions that are more advantageous towards not the patient and not the hospital per se, but the insurance companies. So have you had any notion when you're going through medical school that some of the stuff you're being taught could have been influenced by insurance companies in terms of medication prescription?
No. Yeah, no. I would say no because medication has to be run through so many different clinical trials. There's an actual process that's internationally regarded. So now the complexities and the minutia behind it and all the behind the scenes, I do not know that. I would not know that. But I have not, in my experience alone, have seen insurance companies trying to essentially say that whatever medications they cover or they don't cover, are the ones that should be used for treatment. I have not.
Johnny?
Okay, so this Magic Jack Republican company on telephone service I have, if I heard you correctly, you're saying that as far as you could tell, you haven't had any experiences where you suspected that was happening in your medical school training. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Did you say yes?
Yes, I said that is correct.
Yeah, she said that as far as she's concerned, at her university, the insurance companies does not seem to have an influence on the drugs or what they learn at school.
Okay. So the only thing that we have to worry about then is ideology, because it's very disappointing and scary to find out that some doctors are very Republican. That's really scary.
Yes, I know. I mean, and you know what it is, though? I think this is my impression, and I'm going to ask my daughter herself, because my daughter has told me many a times that, in fact, I'm going to kind of let her blush a bit here. I kind of watch her Instagram, right? And on her Instagram, after she saw a patient, she's walking in a garage or somewhere, and she made this little video and said, "I feel so accomplished. I made someone's life better." And I never told her this, but just listening and watching to her say that on Instagram, unbeknownst to me, I was like, oh man, that felt so good to see that a daughter of mine, the one thing that she got out of treating a patient was, wow, I did something great and I made somebody's life better. And all doctors don't think like that. As many have told me before, the first thing some of them think about is dollars, right?
Egberto, before I hang up, just to say congratulations to you, because she's part of your legacy. Maybe Medicare for all might not be. We might not ever get that until she's an old woman. Hopefully not, but that's something to applaud for.
Yes, sir. Well, thank you for calling, Johnny.
Okay.
Have a good one, brother.
Apple a day.
Yes,
Keep
sir.
the doctor away.
Yeah. All right, brother. All right, let's go to line number 5, I think. 5. Come on in, Alejandro. Alejandro,
yes,
you're
how's
on.
How's it going? Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
How's it going?
I'm doing fine.
I was just, that's great. So I was just having a question. You said earlier that we don't have to worry as progressives about winning 2020, but who do you think is our best option to beat Donald Trump in 2020?
Okay, let me tell you my suggestions, okay? Or not my, I can't say suggestions. I'm here at KPFT. Here is what I think. I think that the two best options to beat Donald Trump is Bernie Sanders or Elizabeth Warren. And I think the polls that came out today actually corroborates that statement that I just made. Here's a caveat. Okay, phone's ringing, but here's a caveat, and it's a very important caveat. The kids Lupita's age, the kids my daughter's age, they are going to be the ones who decide how big a win we have in 2020. If they vote, then it is Bernie or Elizabeth who is going to take the bulk of their votes, and it will be a landslide not only for the presidential race, but for the House and the Senate. Forget about what you're listening to on TV, because you cannot you can't poll Ashley and you can't poll Lupita. You know why? Because they respond to polling differently than we do. They are not the same kind of pollers that the people that they're used to polling are. There's going to be a new paradigm in 2020 if these guys react as I expect them to react. And believe me, this old man is around a hell of a lot of millennials. In fact, I just got off the phone with one of them who got me to read that statement that I started the program with. Because these are the people that I have faith in. I have faith in my boomers and my Gen Xers, who don't get me wrong, the good ones, that is. But the people that I'm holding on to right now are the people that we owe a lot to, because a lot of the conditions they are in right now is because of policies through Reaganomics, through Clinton, through Bush 1, Bush 2, and Obama, that was not mitigated to solve the problems because of the corporatocracy. So, I mean, go ahead.
Now, when you were talking about the millennials, now I'm a millennial. I'm a younger guy.
Okay.
And I work around in construction with a little bit older guys. And,
Yes.
I mean, one of the things that's going to pull them in on Trump is that, with their 401ks going up, they're making a lot of money on Trump. Business is booming over
Alejandro,
here.
I need to stop you there because my phones are getting full, but I want to answer that because what you're saying is such an interesting statement. Whenever you see their 401ks going up the way it's going up, remember it's being done on your back as a millennial. Okay? And if you follow egbertowillies.com, you'll see how I make the case that the
But
people.
Another question, sorry to cut you off.
Sure, go ahead.
How do we beat Trump? Trump is, look at the economy. We're
You
having
know,
records
let me tell you how we.
everywhere in the stock market. I mean, unemployment's at an all-time low.
Alejandro,
50
hold on.
years.
Alejandro, I'm sorry, I don't have a lot of time, but let me just tell you real quickly. You asked an important question. How do we beat him? Alejandro, you know who is the largest voting bloc right now?
Who is that?
You are. Okay?
Okay.
So you get your folks out there because you are the folks who need to get out there now. You are the biggest voting bloc right now. You have already surpassed the baby boomers. Do your job, my dear brother.
And Alejandro, can you hear me, by the way?
Yes. Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, so you talked about 401ks. I recently, as a fellow millennial, learned about the 401ks versus pensions from Hassan Minhaj. He has a show on Netflix.
Yes.
Yeah. So if you check out that episode, is the most recent one. He goes into how we should start thinking about our retirement. So that's just helpful.
But also, we said the 401ks are doing great. We're looking at them, but a lot of these guys, they don't want to vote for any of these, Bernie Sanders types, Elizabeth Warren.
That's fine.
They want to have socialism. And who's going to pay for all that? No one can have a solution for who's paying for it.
And that's the thing. The money is there. Steve, Alejandro, the money is there. And the reason why we are asking those questions is because nobody is telling the truth about how rich the rich really is and how they got rich on everybody else's back. But if
that's the same people who are running. Elizabeth Warren is
No. They're not.
Bernie Sanders is rich.
No, that's not rich. No, that's not rich. You see, that's a problem. You think somebody who owns 10 or 20 or 30 million dollars are rich. That's not who I'm talking about at all. But anyhow, you keep in touch with Politics Done Right. PoliticsDoneRight.com or egbertowillies.com because there's a lot for us to all learn together. And when you learn these things that I put out there, brother, you'll understand what I'm saying and you'll have no fear. The thing about it is you have to get your folks involved. I'll talk to you later. Thank you for calling in, Alejandro.
Thank you.
Have a great one. Okay, let me go and take on to, let's go to Darden, line 3. Come on in, Darden. It's not working here. Could you hit Darden? Yeah, Darden, come on in.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yeah, Alejandro, you're right. You're correct. The Democrats are trying to impeach an innocent man, Biden, because they want to get rid of Biden. Because Biden's son is guilty.
And would I be guessing correctly if I would say that maybe you are a Biden supporter or a Republican, one or the other?
No, I'm not a Biden supporter. I know Biden's guilty too. So that's right. So we're going to have Trump for the next 4 years, 5 years, and then after that, we'll see about maybe Warren or Bernie Sanders.
Okay. Well, I don't think that's the case. I think that the change comes in 2020, but we'll see, Darden. Look, thank you for calling, my friend. Anything else you want to add before I jump to the other call?
Oh, well, no, that's it.
Thank you so kindly, brother. Have a good one. All right, let's go to line 4, Damien.
Egberto?
Yes, this is Egberto. Talk to me.
You can hear me clearly, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, quickly, I think the problem Democrats have, or liberals or progressives, people should be tired of them trying to explain or run away from the word socialism. Socialism is defined as government being 100% in control of production, distribution, and exchange.
Do you know anybody who wants that?
I don't see that in this country.
Thank you.
Okay, it doesn't exist in this country. But the point is, Democrats have problem explaining this. When you talk to a conservative or Republican, they will tell you their definition is, Democrats want to make everybody equal. I don't want my taxes going up.
Right.
These are their definition of socialism.
Right.
And in return, Democrats cannot fight back because they don't even understand what socialism is.
Well, you know what's interesting, Damien, is this. Okay, if you you just gave the definition of communism, and it's interesting how the dictionary has also changed socialism to have the same definition. I went through that exercise years ago in realizing that the definition was that it was redefined within the dictionary, and the reason why that is entire control from the Powell Manifesto. Please look up the Powell memo. When progressives started to get Americans more intelligent, things really changed, and the fear came, and that's exactly what they did. They made not only communists socialists, but they made them in and of the same. But here's the deal: I am not even talking about labels anymore, and this is what I try to explain to Scott before, right? I don't want us to be campaigning on I'm a socialist or I'm a democratic socialist or anything like that. I want us to campaign on, if you elect me, I am going to do this, that, and the other. And you let them concentrate on labels. You see, the problem is this, right? We have to stop being reactive, Damien. There are things that people do, right? I hit you back, or things like that. I am trying to get people to be now not allow themselves to get into false arguments or false discussions. What I want people to do out there is say, if you elect me, these are the points and the things that I will do. If you then want to ask me, are you going to have the government control, the phone's ringing, if you're going to have the government control the factories, I will say, absolutely not. Are you going to have and then I will answer specific questions. We do not fall for the trope of allowing a label to be used. That's all. I got to go to another call, Damien.
In addition to that, ask a conservative that is retired on Medicare or Medicaid.
Yes.
Ask them if they want the government to take away their Medicaid or Medicare.
I don't know if you
they will tell you no.
Of course
tell
not.
them that's socialism.
Right. It's hypocrisy. I mean, but here's the deal. We can't fight the battle on those terms anymore. Those people are dying, okay?
Look, these people are so close-minded. You cannot get to them.
So, Damien, you're right.
I believe in fighting fire with fire.
Damien,
believe me.
I agree with you.
They're so close-minded.
Damien, and the thing that I tell you, I don't know if you're a millennial or not, what I tell you to do is the same passion that you have in calling here and making those statements. It's the same passion I want you not to work on the person whose mind cannot change, work on the persons whose minds can change. And that's who I work with. That's why most of my time is spent with some of the younger folks, because there are more of them, first of all, and that's where the change is going to come. Look at the polls and you see that.
Catch the next call, okay?
Have a good one.
Heard you. Catch the next line.
Take care. Bye-bye. All right, let's go to line 6. Come on in, Steve. Steve, you're hot.
Hello, Berto.
How you doing, brother?
All right.
Talk to me.
I didn't hear everything, but I heard you talking about insurance and your daughter being a doctor.
Yes.
I just thought I had to call and tell you, my doctor, I've talked to her a couple of times about, she's French-Canadian, about our system with insurance and everything, and she's in favor of, Medicare for all.
Of course.
But she's also, I've had her for 17 years, and I got a notice when I was in last month that she's closing her practice, and I asked her why, and she said, because I have to spend 2 to 3 hours every day after we close the office doing paperwork for the insurance companies, and I have to spend 3 to 4 hours on the weekend, and it's just not physically
possible.
Possible. She said, I just can't take it anymore.
Steve, my daughter
she's actually closing her practice, and I'm losing my doctor.
There you go.
Because of the insurance company.
Exactly. My daughter, you told me something in the car today about you finding yourself having to do a lot of paperwork now yourself.
Yeah, so I definitely, Steve, I definitely have heard that from a lot of different private practices, especially primary care private practices. And what's really funny is that this summer I worked at a startup that was trying to save those same private practices by working with the insurance companies, specifically, I think it was like Medicare at the time, to try and create an incentive for, I guess, value-based healthcare. And so in that sense, it kept those practices alive because they were getting essentially rewarded for treating their patients well. I'm not all private practices have access to this company. I know they're trying to expand, but I'm so sorry to hear that you lost your physician. And that is something that many physicians actually struggle with consistently. Even in hospitals, they have to stay after. Like, even if they've done a 28-hour shift, they're not supposed to, but you end up having to stay after and finish your notes to make sure everything is, first of all, correct medically, and then correct legally, and then correct for any other reasons.
Insurance companies as well.
Insurance companies.
All right, Steve, anything else real quickly?
No, that was it. It was just a little frustrating. She is looking into trying to do, I guess, a cash-only business or a clinic, but
it's hard.
I guess she's waiting to see how that'll work out before she makes that determination. But I just thought I'd throw that in there. I didn't know if you'd heard about that or not.
I have heard about the
your
cash.
Your daughter has.
Yes, she has. Look, thank you so kindly for calling in, Steve.
Thank you.
Have a great one. Okay, MOD, line 1, come on in.
Hello.
You're here, MOD.
I'm in.
Yes, you're in.
Woo! How about, I guess, 2 interesting facts and an opinion or analysis on top of them?
Okay.
So Thursday, New York Fed said it'll be pumping $2.9 trillion into its trading houses, primary brokers, between December 16th and January 14th.
Mm-hmm.
So I go to the New York Fed site and I see the schedule. So, and they're buying back bonds, $35 billion a month. To,
okay, MOD. Today I'm trying to stay with Medicare for All. Is there something you got to tell me about Medicare for All?
Yeah, it has to do with that. So, if we're insolvent again, just like 2008, and this time it's a little bit worse because they've already dumped $4 trillion into their Wall Street firms. We see, announced 3 years ago, that United Healthcare and Aetna at then pulled out of a third of the United States exchange.
Mm-hmm.
We hear the collapsing and the defunding of the purse, as we know as our how we pay for our health care.
Right.
Then what's left then when I think the result, now my opinion, would be that utopia, these new people of the order, the sustainable development folks can come in with this new order. I mean, what do you think of this? Andrew Wong, do you know about his
Andrew Yang just
$1,000?
came out. Yeah, he just came out with the $1,000. Yeah, well, he came out with 2 things. He came out with his new medical plan, but he also came out with what's called the income, basic income. Yes.
Okay, so there you go.
UBI, Universal Basic Income. Yes.
So what I want to try to say is, as we see, we're insolvent again as in 2008, and it's just as bad because they already dumped over half of what they did in 3 years in less than 3 months. And the insurance exchanges are bailing up on the 2 biggest of the 3 insurance.
Okay, you're breaking up, MOD.
Okay,
but
here it comes. So, yeah, here comes Wang with his, what's I call Milton Friedman austerity,
Yes.
Resource control of assets. So I can see it. I can see how this is going to end. And it's not going to be pretty, guys. But
thank you, MOD.
Enjoy. Bye.
Bye. All right, I don't have a name for line 2. Who's line 2? Just say hello.
William.
Okay, William, talk to me.
Okay, I got 2 questions.
Yes.
One is medical.
Yes.
What's the best company to go with? I get vet. I'm a disabled vet, but I don't have dental.
Uh-huh.
And it's a real trick to figure out. I mean, there's 25 companies barraging me for the last 5 years to sign up, and it's all, it looks like a scam everywhere.
Okay, I don't have medical experience with my daughter. I don't know if she knows anything about the VA and medical.
No. Unfortunately, I do not know.
Oh, I mean dental outside the VA because I don't qualify for dental.
I could, even if I knew something of that sort, based on where I'm at, I couldn't say give advice on that at all. I'm so sorry, William. What's your second question?
Okay, that's fine. Let me ask one more question. Are you going to be surprised if this lunatic fringe, Giuliani, and his little investigation, he's going to have some flamboyant help from the Russians to fabricate something?
Let me tell you, first of all, I don't know why we're spending so much time on. And folks, I think I'll have a call for a couple more calls. So 713-526-5738, 713-526-5738. The lines are wide open for you.
There's just a simple point.
Let me tell you.
Are you going to be surprised? Is anybody going to be surprised?
I want to answer the question appropriately, and let me tell you why I want to answer it appropriately. I think we are devoting too many resources on the concern about whether Biden's son or there's corruption with Biden's sons. And I think
wherever it falls, it falls. You know what I mean?
Let me finish, William. I don't think we should spend any effort or time on Biden's son and what's going on with him and Ukraine. Anybody, first of all, who has a contract for $50,000 or $60,000 or $100,000 a month, whatever it is, with no experience, I don't even want to be a part of it. Okay.
Right.
So, I mean,
exactly. I'm there with you on that. But what I'm saying is they're going to come up with something really ridiculous, I think.
Well, I mean, they can do as they please. Like I said, Biden. I don't think Biden is. First of all, Biden is not the person that I think it will best represent people like my daughter or Lupita, which is the people that I think we should be concerned about right now.
I think Steyer is a good guy, man.
I
really do.
No, the only good person there is, what I think. But anyhow, so I think there are better choices out there than any of these plutocrats that are running. Anyhow, William, thank you so kindly for calling Politics
I'm
Done.
just throwing something out there, that's all. Later.
Right. All right, take care, buddy. All right, folks, lines are open, 713-526-5738. But we have you want to say something, Ashley? I saw you. Oh, okay. I saw you raising your hands like if you're in school or something. Anyhow, folks, the genesis of this show today had to do with Cigna closing, or rather Cigna breaking off its negotiations with one of the biggest hospital complexes here in Houston. And the idea, or what I wanted to show you, is right now a lot of people say, I love my private insurance. I love that. I love my employer insurance. You are at the behest of these people every year negotiating or not, getting ahead or not. You may think you have security. The only security one can have in healthcare is for us to really have Medicare for all. If you are honest with yourself, one of the things that you dread the most is having to interface not with your doctor. You love your doctor. Your interface with how to pay for your doctor. Your interface with the agencies that are affecting how you will pay. Your interface with getting a bill you didn't expect. Your interface with people who can actually, in one day, in one doctor's visit, change your complete economic future. Is that what you want? Is that the lack of reliability you want? I am pretty sure it's not. Medicare for All is the only possibility to solve that problem. My name is Egberto Willis. Thank you, Ashley, for being with me.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And guess what? I am what? Out!
Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is the progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. Remember, you can also send me a tweet to EGBERTOWILLIES. That is, at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right.
1, 2, 3, 4.